Hi, this is Michael P. Coleman, Content Director for Brother Be Well. Thanking you for checking out this series, this trauma and healing series brought to you by Blue Shield of California's Blue Sky Initiative. As we talk about this exposure to nature, the back of my brain is kind of thinking about those social determinants of health that we've talked about a lot here at Brother Be Well. And I can't help but I'd be remiss not to bring this up. For a great number of men of color, especially those that are in or grew up in an urban environment, wading into the woods is practically an impossibility. What recommendations might you have for those of us who don't have immediate or even easy access to nature?
There's different things you can do. You can bring nature inside your house. As I'm talking to you, I cannot help but to see there's a plant behind you, right? And you're offering light to that plant. You're like it's part of your environment, so you're bringing nature inside, so you can enjoy that part of nature. Sometimes when I walk from my job to my car, I walk in Midtown Sacramento, right? It's very urban, but I take a time to like look at the different flowers, like people who plant outside their house. I try to be mindful as a person of color that they don't look at me like, what is this weirdo doing outside my house? But like I take a couple of seconds to slow down and see if there's any flowers. Do they have new plants? Um, I see that some of the people have like cacti that now they are planting. Now that there is a change of season, like what is coming back to life that wasn't there? There's nature all around us. There's kids, and I think that me growing in an urban environment, I remember looking at a little flower like springing out of a crack in the asphalt, right? And I was like, oh my God, look how beautiful. And recognizing that, just like that flower that comes out of the crack in the asphalt in the middle of the city, we're also that part of nature that flourishes in the middle of these crazy environments that we grow up, but we have the power to be that beautiful flower, that beautiful tree, that beautiful part of nature that brings beauty to the environment that we're in.
It's beautiful that you talk about that plant, that flower you called it, growing up in the crack in the asphalt, Julio, because many people would call that a weed, not a flower. And you remind me of my grandmother as a kid making a distinction between what my mother called a weed. She was describing a dandelion. And I remember my grandmother saying, "What's the difference between the yellow dandelion and those yellow tulips that you planted? It's the same color, it's the same vibrant color." And she taught me to experience nature in a very different way. So the crack in the asphalt with that little plant coming out of it is an example of seeing things a little differently than maybe we're trained to see them, especially with regard to nature, I think.
And sometimes we forget that, like, a dandelion has a lot of healing powers. It's very nutritious. It has like some people use it as an anti-inflammatory. They help you regulate the blood sugars in your body. So there's more to it. The strength that it comes like springing out of the asphalt, and the gifts that it brings to us, not just visually, but when we stop and really look at it and think about what is a dandelion, that's a part of like recognizing the nature that is all around us and the beautiful gifts that it can give to us through like the healing powers that it has.
I'm going to promise to be better at it tomorrow than I have been today. I'm going to keep getting better at it thanks to your input and suggestions, Julio. Let's talk about really briefly, as long as we got you here. We did another video with Brother Be Well in this trauma and healing series, and it was devoted to trauma triggers. That was a conversation with another Brother Be Well clinical advisor, and he's also a marriage and family therapist, Christian Jacobs. And we learned that individuals working on healing from trauma need to be careful about those triggers. And particularly in the context of this conversation, some of those triggers can have a natural element to them, or they can be tied to nature sometimes. I'm wondering if it's as simple as learning about or being aware of your own triggers, or if you might have some other tips for individuals. Is it as simple as just getting to know yourself and know what those triggers are, or are there some other tips we could think about with regard to nature and making sure we're not inadvertently triggering ourselves?
I think that just like with any triggers and taking care of yourself is a little complex, right? There's like different stages that we're going to go to healing. As I shared before, I experienced PTSD, and it took me a lot of work to be able to feel comfortable being out there on my own and walking, feeling safe. And there was a time in my life that I would have never thought about, like going into nature alone, because my brain immediately went to like somebody can come and get me and nobody's gonna find me and they're gonna get rid of me. And as I mentioned before, I started like working with a therapist, say, this is what I feel, this is what I experience. When I'm alone, this is what my brain thinks about. And this is the natural reaction my body has, right? Like I start shutting down and I feel like I cannot move. And like recognizing all of the things and taking steps to start feeling safer. And I am very thankful for the friends that I used to be like, you want to go for a walk you want to go for a hike, right? And I was like, the only thing that I can guarantee is that we'll get there. And I don't know if it's going to be 5 minutes or 30 minutes. If you're willing to share that with me, I'll be very thankful and blessed. But I also had to take care of myself and making sure that not only I recognize the triggers, but I was ready to change direction if any of those triggers happen. To say it is okay to not be okay right now and do something else.
And being your own best advocate and knowing what your needs are and what you can handle and what you can't, and being okay in articulating that.
Yeah, nobody knows me better than me. And I think that, especially as men of color, we were raised and we were educated to be like, you had to be tough, you had to tough it out, you had to be strong. And sometimes the biggest strength that we can show is to say, I'm not okay and I'm gonna take care of myself. I talked to you before about, taking care of a loved one. Well, guess what? I will protect a loved one if they weren't feeling safe. So I had to take care of this loved one, learn to love myself and be like, I can be that strong person for you and say, let me take care of you and rescue you right now, take you out of this situation.
I love it. Absolutely love it, Julio. Thank you. I never can let you get away, and I'll apologize up front. I always ask you for your almost unparalleled words of wisdom here on this platform. You've been invaluable. That's an understatement. I don't know anybody else who's more connected to nature and their surroundings than you are. Can you think of a few other hacks for those of us who might want to engage with nature? Maybe it's new to us, it feels a little foreign, a little different, and none of us really likes things that are different right away. Or those of us, as we said before, that might have a challenge. You talked about bringing nature into the home. That's one. I'm thinking about some of the other ideas you might have for someone who's on a budget or they really don't want to break the bank. Do you have any last minute hacks or tips or ideas for those of us who want to really make more of an engagement with nature?
Yeah, I think that, as I mentioned before, like recognizing what nature is for us, not just thinking about nature as like this magnificent trip to Tahoe with like all these expenses and all of that. Sometimes exposure to nature is, as I said, admiring that dandelion that is resilient and strong, growing out of the asphalt. part of my taking care of my connection with nature is listening to what my body is telling me that I need. My body is so wise. I think that it happens to all of us that all of a sudden I get a craving for an orange, right? And I'm like, why in the planet do I need an orange right now? It's like I didn't even see one, but like recognizing that part of my nature also tells me what is needed. So bringing some fruits into my house, adding like some veggies, that's part of like connection with nature to my meals every day, making sure that like I have the chance to slow down for a few seconds. I think that especially in an urban environment, one of the things that I try to do, like if I get caught at a traffic light, luckily Sacramento is a city of trees. There's trees everywhere. So if I'm like walking to go somewhere and there's a traffic light, I usually like take a moment to touch a tree. And people may think that I'm weird, but I'm like, hey, thank you for the air you're giving me. Thank you for the noise that you make and providing home for the birds. And thank you for being here. Right? I'm feeling that connection that I have because we share DNA and we're all together in this.
I love that idea. I've got a palm tree out front, and I love a windy day. I've always loved windy days, Julio, but the sound of the wind through those palm fronds, I just love it. And you talked about people thinking you're crazy. I'm sure if someone walked by the front of my house, I'd just be looking up at this tree, and they're probably thinking, "What's he looking at?" I'm really not looking at anything. The sound of that is just so soothing to me. But I've never thanked that tree. I've been in this house for years. I've never thanked that tree. So as soon as we're done, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. And we're just about out of time now. I can't believe it, Julio. It flies by. Julio Cruz, integrated behavioral health specialist and Brother Be Well clinical advisor. Thank you, my friend, for another great conversation. I'm already looking forward to the next one.
The time flies when I'm spending time with you guys. So thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, man. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
And I want to thank our sponsor for this incredible conversation and all of them in the series. Blue Shield of California's Blue Sky Initiative has made all of this possible. That initiative boosts access to mental health support, and you can learn all about it at bluesky.blueshieldca.com. That's bluesky.blueshieldca.com. Another website that I'd be remiss not to tell you about is our own, brotherbewell.com. If you've enjoyed this video, there are a number of videos on a variety of topics. Behavioral health, physical health, all across the gamut. You can check those all out. Audio podcasts, compelling print pieces, fabulous, incredible, powerful personal stories of strength and resilience and recovery and healing. You can find all of that at brotherbewell.com. We're a membership supported service, so if you can join us, that would be great. But if you don't want to do that right away, you want to start out a little more slowly, give us your email address. You can sign up for our blog, and you'll 2 or 3 times a week, I believe, start to get notifications about videos just like this one as they go live. Again, all of that is at brotherbewell.com. My name again, Michael P. Coleman, Content Director for Brother Be Well. Thanking you for your time. I don't take it for granted. And we look forward to seeing you and talking with you next time. And I want to ask you to do 2 things between now and then. Take great care of yourself. And when you get that one down, take great care of somebody else. Till then, bye-bye.